Hi, my name is Levi Larson, and recently I got to sit down and talk with the Burtons about their experiences in Journey Theater. Not just their individual experiences, but their experiences together, as a family. So join us in the studio as we talk Journey with the Burtons. So one of the things that I really love when talking to Journey families is hearing about how they first got involved. So how did you guys hear about Journey?
I actually had been researching because Cassie, the oldest of our family, had been doing sports and she didn't really love it. She had been asking about different theaters, and I obviously was looking for a Christian theater, and we signed her up, and it was all over from there. After our first show, we did not stop. We actually haven't stopped. I think in the fall will be our first kind of stopping point, but Kylie will actually be teaching a Journey class. So even then, our whole family hasn't stopped since then.
Cool. So you'd mentioned that she started off with classes. Do you remember that first class? What was that
I totally
like?
remember that first class. I was taking a Drama 1 class, and I remember the first day we were doing this exercise where all the kids were sitting in a circle and they were talking about themselves. And I remember thinking, this isn't something I see in sports, or this isn't something I really get the chance to do at school. And we really got to know each other, even though it was just an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week. We actually built a little community there, and I still remember and talk to some of those kids today, actually.
And then after your involvement, when did your siblings decide to join in?
So I started to do Journey when I was 12. Because of the community of Journey, we got to know other Journey families really well. So I got to know like the siblings of Cassie's friends who weren't in shows quite yet. And so from that, I was able to kind of start with some of them. And so I went in already knowing people. So that made like the transition super smooth. And just going into classes, like you just get welcomed right away. And yeah, it was super fun.
Well, I just remember that first day when Cassie went to a class, and you don't know anyone, and you walk in, and there were a bunch of older girls came up and just started talking to Cassie right away and introducing themselves and helping her find a place. And it's like, okay, so what's going on here? Everyone's so nice. Like that was something I remember from that first day. And you go through that first parent meeting, and everything seems like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of commitments to different things, but you also have an opportunity to just take a class if that's what you want to do, or if you want to be involved in a show as well. But everyone was so nice about explaining things and walking us through the process and laying things out so we could see how it worked. And I thought that was a really great part as a parent, and getting to see what the kids become as they go through the process too. You could see that from the moment you walked into the room.
And that's super important because it's a little overwhelming to hear all of the different aspects, and the idea that you're going to be working on a committee, and there's a lot of parent work involved if you do a show. And so having all the seasoned veteran parents come to you and say, it's okay, it's not as overwhelming as it feels overwhelming right now, but each step of the way, I'm here, and yeah, it's pretty amazing.
This one's kind of for everyone. When you first got involved, what was something that really surprised you? What was something that you weren't expecting?
I think when we went to auditions, I think I didn't have the full picture necessarily of what auditions look like until we got to see it for the first time. And just the idea of everybody being in the room during auditions was, to me, it was like this daunting idea of seeing our child on stage for the first time in front of everyone. And I was a little worried and anxious myself. And then to see how the families and the kids would join in to congratulate the kids as they went up there and did their first little clip of a song to audition, to see the older kids feeling the same things that the younger kids were, to get a chance to see if someone made a mistake, how people cheered them on. Kids came up and gave them hugs. We've seen auditions where a student might have forgotten something, and the group helped sing them along, or the directors helped sing them along. It was just, I was surprised at how that process went. It was just pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's really cool. Something that's unique about Journey, as opposed to a lot of other theater programs, is that they have a lot of open auditions for shows. And an open audition is basically when anyone who wants to come see the auditions is allowed in the room to watch it live. Because usually when you're auditioning for a show, you get in a room, they close the door behind you, and you're with the directors, and it's a daunting thing. But because Journey has a lot of open auditions, it really fosters this spirit of community and encouragement and camaraderie and everyone being together and supporting each other, which is something that's pretty unique to Journey.
One of the things that makes Journey really different is it's really more of a family experience. Can you guys speak to that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the parent committees is no joke. I think at first it was mentioned we were supposed to put in 20 hours, like there was an hour commitment. And then we quickly realized, no, there's not really an hour commitment, there's a committee. So that's been kind of fun because we've learned new skills ourselves as parents. We've been on painting committees, refreshments, souvenirs. We've done mics, soundboards.
Green room.
Yeah. Just almost all of them at this point. But it is a time commitment, but that's also exactly what you put into something is what you get out of something. And so that's the magic of Journey, is that it is family. And we have some great friends in Journey because we've served on committees with them. We're very involved.
Yeah, we've had the chance to meet a lot of talented parents and kids. Everyone brings a little bit of what they have, whether it's something through their job or something that they do as a hobby. It's been pretty amazing to get to see what people bring to those committees. I've learned a ton. Like, there are so many things I didn't know about theater that I learned from them, and just getting to know them and their kids too, having kids work on the committees with us. As a family, the girls did softball when they were younger together. There were several years where all 3 kids were on the team and we were the coaches. Our family went to all the games together, and as they got older, they switched teams and it wasn't the same. And so when everyone was in Journey, it was like it brought our family back together so that we were doing something in the same place again. And our extended families then were also coming together there. So that was really neat. And the girls, I mean, we'd go to see their shows, which was amazing, but there were also times where each of them worked backstage. Sometimes they worked with us backstage when we were short on people, and so that was really neat to work with them in different capacities too.
And I would also say that even though it's kind of daunting and overwhelming at first, there are seasoned people there. They always match you up with somebody who's done it. So you're going to learn, because we never would have been on sound if that was not the case. There are ways to fulfill those commitments, and your show chair will work with you. We're both super busy during the week. We're both educators. And sometimes my mom would be the one who comes in and helps fulfill parental committee duties. So there's ways to do it. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop.
It's so rewarding in the end, like, to see the final product and just to grow closer. And I mean, we have so many memories. We have so many fun little jokes and things that we think of as things that have happened on stage. And I don't think we'd be singing Broadway show tunes in the car if it hadn't been for stuff like this. It really brought us together with something that I never anticipated as a parent when we first had kids. I didn't think that would be what we were doing, and we love it. We've loved the experience so much.
Sticking on the topic of family, I think from an outside perspective, a lot of kids might look at this and go, it might be embarrassing if my family's around during all these auditions and rehearsals, and maybe even too just having your siblings around. Can you speak a little bit too about like what it's like being at Journey as a family?
You definitely get a little bit of everything in that sense. Like, I know for us 3, if we're practicing an audition at home, we will not sing it in front of our family. Like, we just can't for some reason. We're good with big audiences, but if it's just family, it's just like, we can't for some reason. But then when you get in the room and like mom's recording and she's kind of singing along and just everyone has a smile, and it's just super, like, it's a super warm environment. And also just doing all the like car rides and stuff. Like he said, so many inside jokes and fun sing-alongs and stuff like that. But
you can do each other's show hair before the show, help each other with the makeup.
In the car sometimes.
Audition tips, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we can play sisters in a show, you know.
Yeah.
So would you think it's safe to say that Journey has brought you guys all closer as a family?
For sure, yeah.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Even last night, so we were getting ready, all of our answers ready, or, you know, thinking through our past, how many years has it been? 25 shows. It's been about 25 shows now. Like everyone was just around the table going off of each other. And I just sat back and thought, oh my goodness, like we have years of togetherness. Like they go to school and then it's us, like that we would not have had we gone other avenues. And it was just hours. At one point I'm like, guys, let's bring it back. Like we gotta get to bed. But just hours of just reminiscing of all the fun little memories. And it's been a very good experience.
Another unique aspect of Journey is its Christian foundation. How important was that to you guys as a family?
That was the most important, absolutely. I wanted my family, my daughters, to be around people with the same values. And it's just, theater in general to me is kind of an odd concept. Like, how do you give glory to God in a play or in a musical? And I saw that happen because that is our number one job in life. We're here to bring glory to God. So how do we do that? Whether it's through softball, theater, all of those things. But just knowing that Journey classes and directors, and even from the top, Bethany and now Stephen, they're praying for those kids. They pray before auditions. They are seeking God's will. The directors, I know, and I did not always agree with every director decision, but I know that God is in control, and I could relax in that, like they're seeking God too. And so that was huge. I wanted them to be encouraged and not be in something that goes against our value, not this pull tag, like we're gonna have to do some makeup value training at the end. So that was hugely important because what you invest your time in is important.
I just remember going to different rehearsals, and the directors would have some kind of, they'd have something that they'd weave in all the time that dealt with Christ or with the Bible, that they'd weave into each individual rehearsal, or it would be built into the class term, and it was something that would be referred back to regularly. And I thought that was really amazing because you don't find that a lot of other places in our world. And so it was like looking for growth through the process too. Theater wasn't the main thing. It was part of what they're trying to do to build up these kids. I thought a couple of the amazing things, and the girls can talk on this too, is I love Journey Church, which was done as the show was starting, or sorry, it was at the end, the last show. They would do Journey Church, and it would usually be led by one of the directors and the teenage students. And they would lead worship. There would be a student speaker and a director speaker, and they'd usually relate it to the show. And getting to hear a kid's testimonial is amazing to hear, and what they've learned through the show and how they've grown. And then hearing our own girls get to do that as they got older too, and giving those testimonials. It was just an amazing thing to see, and to see kids come around and want to worship together and learn together and reflect together. And then the prayer circle at the end. I don't know if you guys want to talk about any of those pieces, but I mean, that was a really special point to me too.
Yeah, we before each show we kind of have, like, you know, I feel like every theater company has their little ritual type things that they do before each show, and we have a couple. And one of those is we sing a song called I Love You, Lord. And every time that you're in the room and it's being sung, it's like they're just like chills, like, because people are like joining in harmony, and everyone's just like, this show, it's not for us. It's not like just to have fun. We're doing it to give glory to God. And so hopefully the audience will like see that through us. And that's something we do at Track Church too. And we do like popcorn prayer a lot, and it's just really, especially on the last show, it's really emotional to hear everyone like talking about it and how the show's like changed them in the last couple months that we've been performing and rehearsing and stuff.
I think with it being a Christ-centered community too, it's really cool to know that the people you're surrounded with are going to influence you in the right ways. You don't have to be a Christian to come to Journey, but there are a lot of Christians and a lot of believers that you're surrounded with. So to have these kids that are your age who are following Christ and have the same values as you do is super encouraging. And to have these role models, these older kids, when you're 10 years old and there's these high schoolers who are teaching you about what they're learning in their relationship with God, that's a really unique thing to be able to do and experience.
And at the beginning, that's what kept us here, was watching Cassie and then Kylie and Kelsey be just enveloped by the older kids. Like, we thought they were great role models, and they were just so thrilled that these high schoolers are, including them. That was so huge. And then it was really fun for us to know how important that was, and then to watch them be those kids, be the ones that bring the little kids, the 8-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, even the 12-year-olds up and, build into their lives was pretty rewarding.
So outside of the spiritual and the just the theater basics, what were some unexpected skills that you have picked up along your way?
I think that Journey has been the single most influential experience I've had in regards to making me a well-rounded young adult. I think there are so many experiences that I couldn't have gotten from like school or any other program, like talking to adults. I remember that was a huge thing, because it's like when you're a kid, you have your teacher and you have your parents, and maybe you have your friends' parents. But when you're in Journey, you have your directors, you have the parent committee leaders, you have your costumer, you have to talk to all these people and learn these skills, which was crazy and super cool, and I think it really helped me as I became a young adult and moved into other things outside of Journey. I think just the community aspect, learning how to solve conflict, how to problem solve, work together as a team for something other than sports. I know a lot of people are like, oh, sports teaches you so much teamwork. But when you're doing theater and you're having to decide, should I really be singing this harmony? Is this going to make me stand out? You have a lot more to work with in regards to being a team player and learning how to get along with people.
We all had the opportunity to be a part of the high school leadership group called TREC, which stands for Teens Reaching Out to Expand the Kingdom. And so we were in charge of planning different events, movie nights, game nights, and so that taught us a lot about leadership, obviously, and just team building, because you had to work with all of the TREC members and also with adults, so yeah.
Yeah, I got to take part in an improv team for 2 years, and that's something I never thought I'd do. Just seeing for a couple years people doing it on stage, I was like, that doesn't really look like something I'd be into. I was probably like afraid of embarrassing myself or something, but I've definitely learned a lot from that. I've learned to rely on other people a lot more, because not everything's gonna go your way, and kind of like letting the control go a bit. And I've definitely become more conversational. Like the other day we were at the beach and some kids came and invited us over to join them, and we just started talking, and then somebody brought up Journey, and we were like, wait a second, we do Journey. And so we kind of got to connect with someone else through that. And I would not have ordinarily just gone up and like started talking to people on the beach like that. And I've also definitely learned through Journey like grace, like with myself and with others, because things do not go my way all the time, and I have to like learn to be okay with that and just be patient with myself sometimes.
Another awesome thing about Journey is that there's something for you no matter what skill set you have, what gifts you have. Like, you know, Kylie is great at improv, Kelsey's a great dancer, I'm not a great dancer, but I still have a place at Journey. I can still sing and I can still be in these shows, even if I'm not the best at hip hop or great at coming up with some improv line on the spot. And the same goes for like kids, if they like theater or not. You can be in stage management if you're super good and organized and like to be backstage and not like to be the center of attention. Or you can go serve on a committee and you can paint a set if you're great at painting. Like, if you have a gift, you can use it here and you're welcome to use it here. And we need it here. And that's really cool to be needed, because I think everyone can feel needed in this environment.
So when being involved in theater and being involved in auditions, like you were saying, sometimes things don't always go your way. How does handling that disappointment as a family, how does that work?
That's really hard as a mom. I have 3 lovely daughters, and they're all a year apart. So the roles that they would go for are very similar. And typically they had kind of worked that out among themselves beforehand, like if so-and-so would be better at this, then I would do this, and I would do this. And then one of them might get the role they wanted, and the other 2 are devastated. That's super, super hard. And when I look back and I think about just the tears, and then me going into each room to console, and lots of prayer went into that. And like I said, as a parent, you don't always agree with the director's decision at the time. In the end, you make peace with it, and you just trust that that is where God had them. But I also would say that I would do it all over again. Like, as hard as that is, and I have to acknowledge that, you see the growth. And wherever they were, even if they didn't have the part they wanted, they either grew or they had that community. And there were times that they were not excited about a show, but they would do it just because they want to be a part of that community. And so, yeah.
There was a lot of character building in that. I think that they just learned a lot. I mean, it's disappointing, but you see God's plan. You start to see that you can trust people. You can trust the directors, the people that are in charge, that with their decisions. And in the end, like, there's so much that's rewarding about being involved in a show. I can't think back where shows were like really disappointing in the end. Like, they even if the show didn't go how they wanted, or they didn't get the role they wanted, they made friends. They got to know the directors at a different level. They didn't let it stick with them. The directors reached out to them, and also they explained to them, this is why we want you in this role. Like, this is important. We need you to do this. And they make everyone feel like they have a job. They have a reason why they're there. They have a reason they're doing what they're doing. And I really feel like that comes out through the process, and especially at the end. There's just so much joy in putting together these shows and getting to know people. So I think in the end, you kind of see that product overall.
And the nice thing is that I think in Journey, as opposed to a lot of other community or youth theaters, is that the ensemble is treated extremely similar to the leads or the supporting cast. Like, after the show, everyone comes out and signs autographs, and everyone gets their pictures taken at the studio on costume day. So it's not like you're in a class system. You really do feel like you're all an integral part of the show, and you really are just as important as the person singing the song at the beginning of the show or the person with the big ballad. It's the ensemble, it's the dancers and the people walking across the stage in the background. You're really told, and you really can understand that you're needed and you are necessary to the show, and you're just as important.
Yeah, and as we got older, I think that's another place where we really learned leadership in those like more, in both like bigger parts and smaller parts. Because as you're an older kid with the younger students in Journey, oftentimes you're rehearsing these big group numbers, and the directors or the choreographers, whoever's working with you, we only have a short amount of time each rehearsal to get things done. So as you get older, you take on more leadership in making sure everyone is still having fun, but also being where they need to be and helping out people if they are forgetting something or if they need help with a dance or something like that. But also, like, when you're a lead, you don't always get the same opportunity to like interact with people and meet people as you do if you're in like an ensemble, because that's when you're all together like all the time, and you really get to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise. Like, you get to interact with the younger kids and the older kids and just everyone. Yeah.
That actually was a disappointment to you one time when you got a lead, because you didn't get this. You were so busy with other parts of the show that you didn't have the big community. So yeah.
So true.
I also love in Journey, like, you know, you go through the audition process, you get this role, you're not sure about it. At the end, they like to celebrate different aspects of the show process. And so they like to recognize students that were on crew, or that were doing tech, or that were just brought a line to life. And it might have been one. There were kids who were recognized for one line, you know, because it was just they did an amazing job with that one line. Or kids that grew a lot during the show, or kids that went through struggles, you know, like they make sure to recognize that what people are doing, not just the person who got the lead in the show, people who lift people up. I think that's an amazing piece of it too. It's not just about one person or five people. They try and recognize a lot of people and recognize everybody, but really point out the amazing things that everyone does.
What would you tell a parent or a student who was kind of on the fence about joining Journey, just as like a word of encouragement?
I would say that it's a commitment, but there is so much that you get back from it. There is so much that your family will get. There's so much growth for your kids. I think it's an amazing program.
Yep, just do it. Nike says it, just do it. It will definitely change your life, and there will be ups and downs with anything, but what you end up with, the community and how it just grows your family, is a lifetime of memories, and that's worth it.
And I think it just springboards you into adult life. I've gotten so many opportunities to either pursue other theatrical, musical things. I tour the country now with a big ministry as a cast member, and that's something I never ever would have been able to do if it hadn't been for the Foundation with Journey. It just gave me so many skills, theater and life skills, that I use literally every hour of every day, that I might have struggled with finding for a long time if I hadn't gotten that in my high school, middle school years here at Journey.
And if you are nervous about joining, you don't have to just dive right in all the way. You can slowly ease into it. You can just take a class for a session. You could go to one of the game nights or the movie nights that Trek throws. You don't have to do a class, do a show, do everything right at the beginning. There are different options you can do.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I know, especially when you're younger, they start out with summer camps. Mm-hmm. And so they'll have the opportunity to like do these little showcases and have just a fun like camp experience also, and you get to know a lot of people. You're led by some of the older students or alumni of Journey, and you can have like the opportunity to like be more of a audition for a more of a like lead character in the show, or you can just stay back and get the hang of things, stuff like that. But also, I think in auditioning, you're so nervous. That's something that really bonds you with everyone else in the room, because everyone's just as nervous as you. Mm-hmm. And so that bond, a lot of times, becomes like a lifelong friendship.
So during the summer, we have a couple different options, but the main one, I would say, is summer camps. Can you guys talk about those for a little bit?
Summer camps are amazing. Summer camps are one of my favorite parts of Journey. I've gotten to do summer camp as both a camper and as a camp counselor, teacher. It has been so fun. Summer camps are really cool because they give students who wouldn't maybe have an opportunity to be a lead in a normal show because maybe they're too young or they aren't as good of a dancer as they are a singer, but summer camps give you an opportunity to try out for bigger roles than you might normally have. And it's just a really fun time. We have games, teaching. We just have more time to do those kid things, the fun, interactive, just normal camp experiences mixed in with all this fun, high-paced, fast-paced theater programming, which is awesome.
And it's not just camps for kids either. There are teen camps. I got to go to teen dance camp, which was so much fun. We learned so much and put on a really great showcase, I'd like to think. And then Kylie's gone to an acting teen camp. Yeah, you both did. And there are just lots of different opportunities. They put on different camps every summer, and it's just such a great experience for anyone who's involved in any way.
And it's a short-term commitment too. Yeah. So if you can't do a full 3-4 months dedicated to a show because you have school or basketball practice, summer camp is something where you come for a week, you're committed to it, you see your friends every day, and then you leave. So it's a great introduction to Journey and a great thing to do every summer.
We had mentioned earlier how Kylie will be continuing with Journey in the aspect of she's going to be teaching a troopers class. But you guys have the opportunity to continue your own way as well if Journey brings back summer shows, right? So can you talk about summer shows?
I have loved the opportunities I have had to be able to be in summer shows. I've gotten to do a couple now, Newsies and Beauty and the Beast. Those are the two, right? Mm-hmm. And it is so cool to do a summer show because anyone in the community is allowed to audition. You don't have to take a class or anything. So we've got 8-year-olds and we've got 65-year-olds in a show together, and it is so much fun. A lot of people that come to audition for these shows are alumni, actually. Mm-hmm. So they're these, 30-year-olds, 25-year-olds who maybe haven't done Journey in a couple years, but they come back and we're with our friends again. I'm with the people that I did shows with 9 years ago, and we're performing together on stage again, and it's just like old times, and that has been really, really cool to be a part of.
It's interesting as a parent too, because we had to do a parent committee, and Cassie's aunt helped with the parent committee at one point too. We kind of, because it's summertime, we shifted things around a little bit. But that was another time where Kylie and Kelsey got involved. We were short on Mike's people. And so they actually helped work on Mike's with me on that one, and when we were doing Beauty and the Beast. And so they got involved in that as well. And so that was kind of cool, that aspect of the summer, to be able to do that. And just, it's a different environment. Like, you're getting to know people that you watched in shows that you weren't involved in. They were the teenagers and we were just coming to see it. And you're working with them at that point as adults. And it's just a different level of theater too. And who knows, maybe someday we'll have the confidence to audition ourselves. But we joke about it. They're the ones who sing and dance. But who knows? Like, if there's adults out there who've ever thought, I'd love to be on stage with my kid, or there might be that one line for you, even if you aren't the dancer singer. There might be that line out there, and there have been adults who've done that too, and they talk about having a lot of fun out there. Or you can be part of the crew too. That's a good time.
We have whole families who audition for shows together, and I think that is so fun. And they do a really great job of having, you can work a job and you can still do the show. They'll work around your schedule. They'll make sure you can fit in. It's really cool. Just to spend a little time in the summer together as a family, or with your friends, or with the fellow alumni. It's such a cool experience.
I think some of our funniest stories came from doing mics backstage for summer show, because it's like when everyone gets to take a breath from their character on stage. They're like, mic change, okay. I have a couple minutes to relax, and then I go back on. But then it's also right by the stage, so you have all the funny people zipping past to get to their spots. Or one time someone, their shoe broke on stage, and they were a pretty significant role in the show. And so they were like, the shoe just broke, we don't know what to do. And so I had like a flat on, and they definitely didn't have the same size shoe as me, so we stuffed some paper towels in the back, and then we like duct taped it to their foot, and then they went on stage like that. But yeah, you just get like fun stories. You're on crew, you're in the cast.
And the directors are taking roles in some of these summer shows. So it's like you're seeing the adults who run the kids' shows out on stage and putting themselves out there, which is a totally different experience, you can tell. And they feel this, you can see the feelings that they're having out there are a lot like what their students have. And I just remember that all three of the girls getting to know their directors in a different way and getting to talk to them about the process is very different when they're talking about it from the acting perspective. And it was just fun to see that interaction too as a parent. You got to hear what they thought and them encouraging the kids or telling them why they were doing certain things. It was a little different aspect to it.
That's so fun. Well, thank you so much, Burtons, for taking your time and just talking Journey and telling some great stories and having some laughs. If you are interested in joining Journey Theater, please visit journeytheater.org for more information, and we hope to see you soon.